Have you ever wondered if true healing, lasting, empowering, soul deep healing could come not from a prescription pad, but from within your own breath, your own movement, and your own mindset? What if pain, illness, or emotional struggle weren't roadblocks, but invitations to deeper awareness and vitality? In my conversation with Sifu Boggie, we explore what it really means to heal from the inside out. With over 40 years in the Taoist arts, Qigong, and self healing, Sifu shares insights that are simple, powerful, and surprisingly playful. From turning pain into power to the science beyond breath, movement, and mindset, this episode is packed with wisdom that can shift how you view your body, your energy, and your potential to heal. So take a breath and let's dive in. Welcome to Helping Healers Succeed. This is for you if you felt the call to heal, to make a real difference in people's lives, but you also know that turning your gift into a thriving, sustainable career can feel overwhelming. You're listening to Dr. Anastasia Chopelas, a physicist turned energy healer, your guide with tips, stories, and interviews for building and growing a successful healing practice with confidence and ease, using practical strategies, science-based insights, and inspiration to help you increase your impact and income without burning out. Be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of the upcoming valuable information in store for you. Welcome back. Today's guest, Sifu Boggie, has spent over 40 years mastering the Daoist arts, Qigong, and self-healing practices that defy conventional wisdom. In addition, his path has been anything but conventional, from working as a close protection officer for embassies and FT 500 companies to becoming a police community support officer for the London Met, to becoming a skilled baker and pastry chef. His journey is a testament to the Taoist principle of adaptability and flow. It's so great to have you on the show, Sifu. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Me too.
So many healers started with something else in mind, right? So, what first drew you to the Taoist arts, and how has your journey shaped your perspective on self healing?
So I started off as a kid. I wouldn't know for many years, not until I was in my 30s. But as a kid, I actually was dyslexic, slight traits of autism. So I was different to the average, and I saw things in a different way. And I got picked on a lot at school, bullied at school, and because I was getting bullied at school, I ended up doing a martial art. The particular martial art I was lucky to find actually had meditation in it, which I really loved, like because it was part of that particular art was meditation. And then from that led to they had judicators come to do the belt testing. And one of the judicators that came studied the Tao, the way, the path, the balance. That's what the Tao means, or Tao sometimes because it can be spelt with D or a T. He studied he was a Shaolin master, and he also studied the Daoist arts too. He saw something in me. He said to my parents at the time, "I would very much like to teach your son." And it started from there. So from being like picked on at school, like bullied, I learned how to protect myself. But I actually learned, for me, it was more about learning how to stop pain. So like when they hit me, it just wouldn't hurt. And because I didn't really like the idea of fighting back, but I wanted to fight back in different ways. So as they hit me, it didn't hurt. And because it didn't hurt, they'd get bored and they'd give up. And then, so for me, it was a brilliant strategy because they tried to fight me, it didn't work, so they'd leave me alone. From that, I learned that you can turn off pain, that you can actually stop things from hurting. And there was a line my Sifu's always said before in martial arts, before you should learn to kill, as in the fighting, you should learn to heal. So the healing side was taught almost straight away. And in the Eastern arts, martial means practice, and art, the flow is the understanding of the art. So martial arts is not actually about fighting, though we think a lot in the modern day in the West, we think that's what it's about. It's
Well,
actually about learning about yourself.
the martial arts are way different when you study them from the Far Eastern perspective compared to, I mean, it's just like voodoo. Voodoo is actually a healing art, but the movies all make it look terrible.
There's a lot of that. I found, it's like there's an old simple saying, never read a book by its cover.
I have to say, the way you describe yourself, the getting bullied, I think all of us that are a little bit off the beaten track have gotten bullied in school. I got bullied too because I was different. And so your life path is incredibly diverse: martial arts, healing, law enforcement, even baking. How have these experiences influenced your approach to teaching and healing?
What they're almost intertwined, is the Taoist philosophy, the thing in that arts, they have what's called the three ends. So you have martial, medical, and meditational. So within the art, if you learn fighting, you learn the healing and you learn the meditation. And what they taught me is that everything's interconnected. The baking actually came first. I left school at 16 and I was going to do baking. And eventually I did baking because I wanted to be an actor. And I had this cunning plan that being a baker meant I worked early in the morning and then I would be able to do auditions during the day. So that was my cunning plan. But I was also like studying martial arts. And my Sifus, one of them is two brothers. One was very much on the fighting side, that did all the other stuff. And one was very much on the healing side and did all the other stuff. And Poe, their healing brother, he said, "Yeah, you want to be a baker? Excellent. Bakers make good masseuse because kneading the bread actually is the same as doing the muscles." I learned everything I did had a different application somewhere else. So the understanding was is that everything you do enhances and affects everything else you do. So it doesn't sound like they're all interconnected, but the
Yeah.
more you look, or you say, well, ice skating is great for philosophy and great for psychology, and some of you go, how's that? Well, you're standing on a blade. You're constantly balancing on this blade on the ice. Now, if you're scared and tense, it will reflect within the movement. Your movement will be more wobbly. And if you fall over and you're scared or falling over, it's going to hurt more. But if you're relaxed and you go with the flow, then you're less likely to fall over. And if you do fall over, it doesn't hurt. That spreads out into so many different things. Well, leads into epigenetics as well. This
I
whole
love that
understanding.
analogy. Well, I'm the walking oxymoron. I'm a healer, but I spent 40 years as a scientist in the lab. So people go, how do you reconcile that? But it's all connected, right? Just like you said. So many people
So,
view healing as external, going to doctors or seeking treatments. And you emphasize self healing, which is why I wanted you on the show. Is how do you guide people into unlocking their own ability to heal?
it's the simple fact. I just want to say about you being a scientist. There's a thing called the dragon dog shaman, and in Daoism in general, even Einstein that once said that magic is just science not yet understood. That everything when we go deeper and deeper into it, there are things like in quantum physics. There are things where you actually look at quantum physics. The Taoists were talking about it using a slightly different metaphor, but they're talking about the same thing. Sliding back to your actual question, is that because everything's interconnected, I love the whole idea of epigenetics, is that the way you think, feel affects your physical health. So when you get people to understand that the way you think and feel, the way you move, the way you even breathe are all interconnected, and that we have far more power to help ourselves than people realize. And you just got to understand the study of the placebo effect. Is that, well, with the placebo, is that you're given something that you think is real, but it's going to be a sugar tablet or something. And they even do that with operations as well in the medical profession. Is that you don't know that is not real. You believe it's real, and they have found within the placebo effect that about 70% of people who are taking the placebo actually get slightly to moderately better, or even more. And because the ability to heal is genetically within us, we actually have very strong ability to heal. And what Qigong does, it works on that same principle. One of the things I do, the grandfather of Tai Chi, Qigong, and it works on that principle. It makes you feel better. And when it makes you feel better, your muscles relax, the blood flow increases, and the healing abilities of your body increases, and you actually start feeling better and you start healing better. So it's this whole idea. And within Daoism, there's a thing called the barefoot doctor. The barefoot doctor were practitioners who taught you how to heal you. And one of the biggest things they talk about is that tension and stagnation lead to illness. So if you're stiff and tense and scared or angry, all that tension is held into your body and it slows the body down and it starts to break the body down
Yeah,
again.
it creates what we call blocks, right? And I love that you brought in that placebo effect. People say placebo like it's a bad thing, but it isn't. Actually does teach us that the body knows how to heal if it's given that knowledge that you're healing now, even if it's a sugar pill.
For me, it's almost that Einstein's saying of, oh, it's magic. It's science not yet understood. Placebo, when you fully understand about placebo, is somebody's belief mechanism. It's that strong. And we know in psychology, like, well, we know, for example, they've done it with runners, with sport people. They've got them to sit down, sitting in the chair, and they've got the monitors on them, and they tell them to imagine getting ready for a run and doing everything they would do for that run. And so they're sitting there, but they're imagining, and their heart rate starts to increase. The muscles that they would be using running starts to increase. And they did this in many different professions. And what they basically the information came back was that the mind can't tell the difference between what you imagine and what is real.
Right.
So, which is the placebo. So your belief is so strong that it can make your muscles think you're going for a run. Your belief is so strong that it can make a sugar pill actually be medicine. Our belief is that powerful. We are that powerful that we can actually heal ourselves, but we dismiss that because, oh, no, we can't be that powerful. We're giving the power away where it's time that we need to actually take that power back.
Yeah, in fact, brain scans show that when you imagine yourself, whatever it is you're imagining, like when I ran races, I would just imagine the air coming into my lungs and my legs and arms pumping and that I wasn't giving up. And I ran my best races when I did that. But they showed with brain scans that it shows that it actually does look just like you are doing the run. It's fantastic. And I love that you brought up epigenetics and imagining it, because epigenetics, there have been new studies. Like, I live here in the Los Angeles area at UCLA, where I went to school for many years, did a study on relationships, and people in happy relationships are shown epigenetically are in better shape. Epigenetically, that all of the bits and pieces are aligning to live longer. So, yeah.
In Daoism, there's a thing called the G effect or the love effect, or which is that when you're in love, and I think Dr. Bruce Lipton, who also studies
Dr. Bruce Lipton, yes.
Yeah, and he did the one about the love theory, is that when you're in love, your rubbish journey to work is a little less rubbish, and your horrible boss is a little less horrible, because you have that feelings of love, and you're in that energy, and you're raising your the endorphins and whatnot all kicking in, and everything's a little bit less as bad. So the way your mood literally affects how you act and react to a situation.
Yeah.
So Taoistically, we do that called the gene effect, the love effect.
Even the simple act of smiling, right? Just the simple act of smiling. If you're just sitting there, just sit up straight and smile and see how much better you feel.
Very much so. And there's even one, so within Daoism, you have the sacred sounds. And one of the sacred sounds, so the sacred sound of the heart, I've always found really interesting because it's technically a law. And what I mean is the sacred sound of the heart is ha. So it's ha. And so we know, like, for most people, we think the heart is, that's, where your love is, your compassion is. And so the ha sound is raising the vibration of the heart, but then you can do it in short bursts. It's called the drunken ha. So it's ha, 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 until you end up laughing. There is other styles like laughing yoga, which is the same sort of thing, is that you can actually create energy just by flipping things. And I just very quickly want to say there's another one, like if you're very nervous or worried and tension, it's called the look up. And it's literally by looking upwards, you breathe from the belly, breathe in, let your belly expand, breathe out, pull your belly in, which is called belly breathing. So it's opening up the diaphragm fully. And at the same time, you're looking upwards. And the looking up, they say, right, drain the monkey brain. So they call the whole brain in the Eastern philosophy, it's called the monkey mind. And they always point to the front of the head. And we know in psychology, it's around about 60 to 90,000 thoughts every single day in the forebrain. And so the act of looking up is said to actually drain the fluid. So if you're very stressed and overthinking, by looking up, you'll actually start to drain the fluid down the back of the neck and back down into the body. And I've taught this to a lot of people suffering anxiety and stress and have panic attacks. And the belly breathing and that looking up technique seems to work for them very well.
Wow, that's really valuable insight. I'd never thought about that. I do the belly breathing all the time, but this, yeah, it makes a difference. It feels like everything is lighter afterwards.
I was just going to say that's the art of Taoism. It's childlike. Everything is a little bit playful, a little bit childlike, and it should be simple. Adults have made things complicated.
Yes, they
We
do.
want to go back. Yeah, we want to go back to being a child, or maybe that's just me.
Yeah, well, that's why we have grandchildren to remind us to be kids again. I walk my grandson to school every morning and we have these conversations and they're so adorable because it reminds me of being young again and curious and fun. So, what are some of the most common misconceptions about Qigong and how do you help people see its relevance in modern life?
So there's a few. One of the best ones is that very young people think it's the very old, and the very old think it's the very young, and the very busy say, "Oh, that's for people who have loads of time." And the thing with Qigong is for everybody. Not everybody thinks it's for them. And if you've heard of Tai Chi, you've heard of Qigong. So Qigong is like the grandfather of Tai Chi, or Qigong was music, then Tai Chi would be a style of music. It would be classical music. And so the Qigong is very simple and it can adapt to a situation. And if you suffer from headaches or bad back or stress, or you want to improve your backhand in tennis, there really is a Qigong pretty much for everything. And there's ways to adapt. And then, like, people do it in a way that they don't understand. The word Qigong means breath, work, and working with breath. So you don't just do the movements or just breathe, you do both together. Because if you just randomly breathe and do movements, you're doing exercise. But if you breathe in, let the hands expand and let the belly expand, breathe out, let the hands drop down and pull the belly in, breathe in, and breathe out. And so when we do movements, and depending on the movements, when you're breathing in, you tend to be expanding outwards. And when you breathe out, you tend to expand inwards. And so the Qigong movements, whatever movements you do, they work with the breath that you're working with. It's the breath that does the movements, not the other way around. Meaning, so if you've got a short breath, well, then the movement will be a little bit quicker. But your goal is eventually is like you slow the breath down. And the more you slow the breath down, the more you slow the movements down. And the movement and the breathing actually balance each other and it actually has an effect on all the systems of the body, so the nervous system, all the different systems start to actually balance. And they've done case studies with this, that doing these movements with the breath actually starts to regulate the heart, it improves the central nervous system, and it does all these things that balance the body. And the biggest thing is people look at it and think, oh, it's too hard, it's too complicated. And it's just do one thing. Just do one thing, start with that, then do the next thing, then do the next thing. It's only as complicated as you want it to be.
Well, I can't believe people think it's that hard. There's a park nearby that I walk through every morning, and we have a big Asian contingency in the neighborhood. And all of these people of all ages were out there doing movements. These movements, just like you're showing and just like you're describing, the breathing and the standing still and all of that, breathing in and out. And it looks like it's really fun to do and easy. It's just like yoga. You don't have to make it like you're lifting 100 pounds. You can just do a simple movement and it does the job.
Yeah, it's very simple to do those exercises and those movements. And it's just allowing, I think people just don't think they have time. And it's one thing, it's one of my fun challenges. I say practice 15 minutes a day is a good amount to do. Like we know in psychology that if you practice anything for 15 minutes a day over a 6 to 9 week period, it becomes a habit. And more importantly, you get what's called muscle memory, and your body starts to remember those movements, and you get that general effect. And people say, I don't have 15 minutes. And it's like, I know I can find 15 minutes in your day, because there will be times where you're sitting there wondering what to do, or waiting for the kettle, or holding in your hand, thinking, oh, what should I watch? Or staring out a window. So I always know I can definitely find 5 minutes. And if I can find five, I can find 15, even if I have to do it separately. But it's this thing, we just push things away because they're different. And a lot of people think it's somebody else's responsibility to fix me. But you've got yourself in this situation. Whatever your health level right now, you've got yourself there. You can get yourself out of there. You can improve it, enhance it. And it's just about doing a little bit and building it up and growing.
I have to agree with that. And I also don't take medication. I exercise still up to 2 hours a day. And I'm 72. So I don't feel 72. I don't act 72. And I can still do a lot of the things that I could do 30, 40 years ago. So I think that you're really right about attitude and self healing, because I believe that I'm going to live a long time. I believe that I'm going to be healthy that whole time. And I do all the actions to make that happen. And what you're saying is true. So we've touched on epigenetics already, that your thoughts, movement, and emotions influence your well being. And we've already covered that. But you've worked with so many people. Can you share a transformational story that stands out?
I've been doing it for 40 years as a couple. I think a good one. So there was a gentleman who's 96 years old. His wife had passed away just about a year before, and his daughter had been learning Qigong with me for about a couple of years, I think it was. And she came to me, she said, is there anything you can do for, for my dad? He may be too old to learn. And it's like, no, you can stop right there. But is there anything you can do? And I went there, and I've actually been working in residential homes for many, many years. And so I'm very used to having people who can hardly walk or not walk at all. And we would do exercises starting off them seated and doing exercises here, and then eventually getting them to stand up. And we had this great game with people where we'd have Mrs. Miggins, who was 87, and she would stand up and do an exercise. And then we'd have behind her a comfy sofa, and she said, if your legs feel a bit weak, just drop back. And she'd go, oh, Oh dear, I've fallen over again. And it'd be like a little game that some of the people would play. So we started off this gentleman at 96 to start off doing the exercises, not standing up, seated. And then within a year, we got him to start standing up and more and more and more. He passed away at 106. So he went from at 96, hardly could walk, really. He told me a few years later that he'd given up. His wife had passed and he was ready to go. But we got him into Qigong, got him into the movements, and he was just doing a little bit every day. And like I say, he passed away 10 years later at 106. So at 96 years old, that's my oldest student. And he wasn't running marathons, but he was definitely a lot fitter. And he was a lot stronger and a lot more able bodied. And he definitely was a lot happier in the last 10 years of his life because we've flipped things out. I think it's a good one.
Well, yes. I mean, psychologists will say you can't be in motion, moving, and be depressed.
Mm.
It makes a big difference. If you don't feel good, just go outside and take a walk. It'll make a big difference in your mood. And I can imagine that doing then directed movements like Qigong, that it stimulates the meridians in just the right way to open up things for you, right?
Yeah, 100%. And there's evidence in science that's saying that the T cells, so the cells in the body that can regenerate into anything, they still exist within the body. So the body can still repair itself, it can still heal by whatever age you are. But it's just they didn't know, or originally they didn't know how to activate them. But now, like genetics, they're now saying that the body can actually re-strengthen itself, regrow through positivity and through that feeling. And as you said, I've had this a lot over the last 40 years where somebody would say, I didn't tell you this, Sifu, but I had PTSD. Just a couple of years ago, I had cancer. Or I had all these different things and say, and I feel a lot better, and or it's gone away, or that illness seems to have gone in remission or disappeared. How did you know? And I said, I didn't have a Scoobies. I didn't a Scooby Doo. I didn't have a clue, and I don't need to because the Qigong knows itself. It knows you. Your learner, your body knows you, and the whole idea is that these things will help you. Now, I can teach you 1,000 Qigongs. I know 1,000 Qigongs. I can teach you these things, and that's awesome. But I will also say, whatever you love, do that. Like people who love fishing will say, oh, yeah, I can go fishing and all my problems disappear. And a couple of hours feels like minutes. And it's like, you were doing a meditation. No, I wasn't. I was fishing. No, that when you focus on one thing and forget everything else, whether it's sitting there going on or fishing or even sewing or knitting.
For me, it's
Yeah,
painting, right? I have some of my paintings behind me. But yes, when I go painting or writing a book or anything like that, anything creative, it takes you out of your daily whatever it is and you forget everything. It's very, very healing, very soothing.
indeed. And the difference is when the Qigong aspect is relaxing the body as you do it. So as you're doing those things, just breathing and relaxing and moving. Anybody who knows me knows I never sit still. Even like right now, I'm actually sitting on a yoga ball. So I'm on the yoga ball. So that's why if you see me moving but what this does, it allows my hips to open up, it allows me to move, and I'm still regulating my movement, which allows your body to release tension.
The videos I've seen of you, you're always moving in them.
I don't still, well, I can sit still. I do sit still. When I was a close protection officer, I had to sit still. And as a police community support officer, there were times definitely I would sit still. But then you move internally. And that just means I'm breathing in, moving the body outwards, breathing out and relaxing. So I just move in a different way. But moving is vital. As kids, we were told stop fidgeting. But then they learn later on that actually the act of fidgeting helps release tension within the body and the organs. So fidgeting is actually a good thing.
Yeah, I have a lot of ADD in my family, and one brother, he fidgets, moves, and talks, and he says if he doesn't do that, he gets tense. I have to say, just in this conversation, I can see that you describe yourself as a guide rather than a master, and I can see that of you. But what does that distinction mean to you, and how does it shape your approach to teaching?
If you look up on Google the word Sifu, it says master of martial arts. And you have the word sensei, which is very much master. But actually, in Chinese, the word Sifu is parent and learning. So it's a parent or guide and learning. And so for me, as a muse, as a guide, Bruce Lee once said he said this Daoist saying, which is, it's like a finger pointing towards the moon. Do not look at the finger because you'll miss all that heavenly glory. So the finger is the Sifu. As a teacher, I'm just helping you along the path. I'm learning with you. And it means a couple of things. Like, for one, I never take myself or anything else too seriously. I'm very passionate about what I do. But for some people, oh, you must listen to what I say. I'm right and you're wrong. And for me, that's very opposing opposites. I don't necessarily think there is a good or bad as such. Everything's learning. Even an illness is a cure waiting to happen. If that illness is teaching you you're stagnant, do something about it. So you learn to recover on this journey to help people help themselves. And that's very much as a doctor, as a drug book shaman, they very much believe in my job is to give people enough information for them to figure out themselves and do it themselves. And even to the point where, like I say, is that, yeah, for me, Qigong worked and Chinese massage and the Reiki, and that all worked. They might not work for you, but figure out what does. Is that if I'm not a Sifu as in a Qigong or as in teaching you directly, I try to be a Sifu as helping you indirectly. Figure out, because that's what we're here to do, is to figure out what works for us and grow. So it's more about, I'm more guide. I'm more like to help people rather than tell them what to do, because I can't tell you what to do because I'm not you.
Yes, exactly. I really love that. I really appreciate that of you, that you're helping, because I've had healing teachers that were just like you described, do it my way or the highway. And I go, oh, that's not very healing, is it?
And there is a lot of that. There definitely is a lot. One of the Taoist philosophies that I practice and training is the barefoot doctor. And the barefoot doctor was traditionally was a woman. There were a few males, and the barefoot meant that they would travel from place to place. And because they traveled from place to place, they would look after so many villages. And because they looked after more than one village, their goal was to teach you to help yourself, because that way you weren't relying on them. And that's always been my thing, is that the exercises I teach, they're not only energize you and help you, but they're also diagnostic tools. Meaning, like, so you do an exercise one day and it's fine, and the next day, oh, I feel a bit stiff. Well, it's telling you what's wrong. It's telling you there's an issue there. And my goal is to help you figure it out for yourself. And I think we've grown up in a society that wants to say there's a specialist for this and a specialist for that, and you must listen to them. We grew up going to school and you must listen to the teachers. I used to get told off all the time because I would actually say, yeah, but what about this? And I had actually taught a teacher a couple of things when I was a kid. I remember one very well was they heard of the kiwi bird, and I said, oh, it's a fruit. Don't be silly, Brighton. There's not a fruit called a kiwi. So the next day, my mum, with one of the fruits she liked was kiwi. So I got one for my mum and said, that's a kiwi. And so I taught a teacher, think out of the box, and understand. And so I've always been that. The biggest thing I want to teach you is to look outside the box. Because when you look out, I love a painting, a beautiful painting. If I only look at that much, I'm seeing a beautiful patch, but I'm missing all the glory. So by looking back, by leaning back, you get to see the whole painting, and that's your life. And that's all your answers that you need. Just look back, just lean back a little bit more and look at the bigger picture. You'll find the answers that you're looking for.
Yeah, it reminds me of when digital photography was pretty young. right around the turn of the century, 1999, 2001. There were some people that they called it the Gigapixel Project, where they would put all of these images together to create a very detailed image. And then you could zoom in and zoom in and zoom in and still see detail. And then zoom out and zoom out and zoom out and then see the big picture. That kind of reminds me of that. That was the immediate image I got. So, if someone listening today wants to take one immediate step toward better energy flow and self healing, what would you recommend first?
So the belly breathing technique, breathe in, let the belly expand, breathe out and pull the belly in. And with that comes a philosophy. And the philosophy is, if your breaths are shallow and fast and erratic, your thoughts, your feelings will be shallow, fast, and erratic. But if your breath is slow and smooth and flowing, your thoughts and your feelings will become the same. So the way you breathe affects the way you feel and affects how you do. So focus on the breath.
Where can our listeners connect with you and learn more about your work?
So you can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, and Sifu Boggie, but also my website and my video platform where I have interactive classes, my skiing, which is videos, but we also do live classes as well. It's on shundao.uscreen.io.
I'll put all that on the show notes so people can, when they're listening in or when they're watching a video, that'll all be there so they can see where to connect with you. And is there anything you'd like in particular to promote?
So the Shundao School, if Netflix and Facebook had a baby, it would be Uscreen. It's the idea of all these videos, and then you also have a community-based structure. And I'm, as you probably guess, I'm very interactive. I like the Dao. I like to flow and go with the flow. We have live classes, and then we have the recorded lessons. But if you leave a comment on the lesson saying, Sifu, what was that? Or I suffered from bad backs. You've got a Qigong for that. The next live I do, or the next lesson I do, I'll go, oh, Joe asked this. And so we are very interactive. The goal is to be very interactive. And so we have different levels. So we've got 4 live classes a week, and we do Qigong, energy exercise. We do Neigong, which is if Qigong and yoga had a baby, it would be Neigong. So it's stretching yoga with balance and breath. We also do Shundong, which is Qigong meditation. And then we do a thing called Dragon Dog Shaman Reiki, which is Chinese Reiki. So slightly different style to the standard Reiki. And because it has that Qigong in it, and it also has sacred sounds, you'll find different things. And there's lots of Qigong out there. But I come from a different slot. I come from a different slot to the average Qigong practitioner.
I can see that. You've wrapped up so many different healing modalities into one because different people are affected in different ways. And some like sound healing, and I like producing my own sounds. So, Sifu, thank you so much for sharing your perspective and unique journey. I look forward to hearing the perspectives of the people that are going to listen to it. So, thank you so
Brilliant.
much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Don't forget to give this podcast a thumbs up or 5-star rating. Share it with your friends and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next episode on helping you succeed. Thank you for tuning in to Helping Healers Succeed. You'll find resources and show notes on our website at helpinghealerssucceed.com. Until next time, I'm Dr. Anastasia Chopelas, sending you golden healing light and success vibes on your journey to becoming a powerful, confident healer, coach, or intuitive. Remember, your gifts are so needed in this world.